Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. This is Ryan. I'm here with Tyler, the two-man team that is Cutthroat Research. How you
Hey
doing today?
everyone.
How's it going, Tyler?
Doing good.
Yeah, chilling, chilling.
Yeah.
We are here recording the morning or afternoon rather before our local Saturday tournaments. So we're gonna try and give you some uh, fulfilling content. I know we've been a little bit late. We had obviously the Thanksgiving holiday a few weeks ago, and we managed to get an episode since then. But I know this past week and a half, there's been some issues. We planned on one night to record, and things came up, and so apologies there. We are trying to keep our schedule as consistent as we can, but sometimes life happens, and I hope everybody can understand that, especially for something that's free. There's no payment subscription or anything like that so far, so bear with us, guys.
Well,
But we do have
not
some
yet.
Keyforge stuff to discuss. Tyler, you want to give us a recap or a pre-reading of preview of what we're going to discuss, talk about today?
Yeah. I was gonna say it's probably maybe we should just classify ourselves as a bi-weekly podcast, and if you get an episode in between, it's bonus.
Yeah, that would be fair, especially like full disclosure, I'm probably going to be taking some college classes in the spring, so like starting in January, I'm going to have two online classes, so it doesn't require me to go to campus, but I am going to have, assignments and work and stuff to take care of in addition to what I'm already doing all the time. So this might very well turn into a bi-weekly thing, at least for the time being. But if you get a little bit extra, then take what you can get. But until set four comes out, I don't think we have too many big topics of discussion either. I know we're going to cover a lot of Worlds Collide stuff today. And try to talk about the first month of leaderboards and this next month of leaderboards. This is the first of four tournaments for December that we're gonna get to try and get ourselves a unique deck. Well, they're all unique, obviously, but one of the leaderboard decks rather.
Yeah. And luckily this December none of the holidays fall on Saturdays, which is the day that we play at our locals.
Right. So Christmas is
So
like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and New Year's is the week later. They're always on the same day, so we're in the clear for maximizing our tournaments for this month,
yes.
which is great.
So that's exciting. Month one of leaderboards. How did you end up doing?
Uh, Fun fact, I don't know because I stopped caring. That's just the
Yeah, so
honest truth.
we had a prime on week 3
Two or
of the
three, yeah.
leaderboards, which was also one of the 5 times Amber Shard weeks.
Yep.
So everyone who went to that prime
Basically
pretty
lost their
much
chance to get any
got
leaderboard decks.
pushed out of leaderboards. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
because
anyone that went there.
with 5 times shards, just entering the tournament gives you enough, the same amount as an undefeated 4 round tournament, and then each win after that also gives you another undefeated 4 round tournament worth of shards.
Right, so every time that every win anybody got that weekend and other weekends prior, even though we were at them, the Amber Shard, there's literally just no way to keep up with it. So just going to that one event where everyone else was at Prime, um, pretty much. I mean, I wouldn't say it locked you in, but you definitely probably finished this month off ahead of anybody who went to the Prime.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks that it counted for,
Hmm.
and then our locals also does 2 tournaments on the same day,
Right,
the
and
chainbound and the sealed. So essentially, there was a week where we were all preparing for primes, where I know only a couple of us went to the locals,
yep,
and that was with the first 5 times points, and then the next week was the week we were at the primes, and there were 2 tournaments
yep.
filled with
And
newer.
I am one of those people. As soon as I knew that I wasn't going to make it to leaderboards because of the Prime, it wasn't worth doing sealed. I didn't do any sealed events this whole month, even though I wanted to. I'd rather save my money and try to do a sealed for 4 weeks in a row when I know I can and know that I have the leaderboard potential. So I skipped
Yeah,
out on Archon the week before Prime to prepare. I went to Prime, so I missed literally all of the Amber Shard bonus weeks and just kind of ignored leaderboards until today. So now I'm gonna try and take it seriously and grind my way to the top and hopefully score something at New Year's time.
the good news is, because of the bonuses, our second place on leaderboards this month is someone who started playing Keyforge the third week of this last month.
Literally the prime their first tournament was the weekend that we were at Prime.
It was the week before Prime. I'm sorry, the second week of the month
Okay.
was their first tournament because I was there, and I know them from around town and stuff. And he ended up coming second. His name's Nick. He's a really nice guy.
Nice.
He's a local police officer now. I think he was in the military. That's why we stopped talking because he left to
Gotcha,
serve our
gotcha.
great country. And now he's back. He's playing Keyforge. He's liking it.
Seems good. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I think I've like crossed paths with him at the card shop through you, but I haven't like met him or introduced myself. I definitely haven't played him yet. So maybe that'll happen one of these upcoming weeks. But it's cool. It's a good feeling for somebody who's only a month into their game, regardless of, what decks they have and what their competitive nature is, just seeing them get top four. I know for me, if it was only me being a month into playing a game and I got a reward like that, I'd be triple or even more so like motivated to keep playing and try and grind it out and see what other cool decks I can grab and come up with combos.
Yeah,
So
I'd be stoked.
it's super inspiring and motivating for players like that. And I think that's something that compared to other games, FFG does pretty well. Their prize support and their unique tournaments or special events, as some would call them, I think they're uh, very cool. And I think they're very fair with what they give out and how they distribute everything product wise. At least at the time being, like those haunted playmats or the Grim Reaper playmats are awesome from Prime. All the store championship mats, the Sanctum mat, the Mars mat, like how many other card games can do that many playmat prizes for events just at local game stores? I mean, like yeah, the Prime Championship was a 3 hour drive for us, but to many people in that area, that is their local game store. We didn't have to go to a giant ballroom venue like you would for other card games. So
Yeah,
I think it's
it's
awesome.
very cool how accessible some of this stuff is starting to become, and how they're really they're really trying to drive players locally. It's something that like other card games are moving away from, and I don't understand why because it's the easiest way to like keep your player base interested and happy.
Yep. I mean, there's definitely some people, I wouldn't even call it like a specific generation, but there is a wave or community of people who prefer online versus paper. And that's fine. Like you can dip your toes in both of those. I guess I don't even want to call them industries because they're not even really different. They're the same thing in different forms. But having a virtual mode and a paper mode for anything always seems better. Like why wouldn't you want more variety? And other card games, like you said, seem to be at least considering straying away from paper, which is just absurd to me. But Keyforge doesn't. Keyforge is just doing it right, man. Like everything about Keyforge so far has pretty much made me happy, aside from a few things that aren't even really Keyforge's fault.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
or SFG.
it's a shocker to me to like just to use Magic as an example. Like they seem to be not supporting game stores as much as they used to, and making it harder for game stores to like carry their product because they're pushing the online version of the game, the arena.
Right.
And it's like, well, people need somewhere to play your game,
hmm
like unless game stores are going to start like becoming like internet cafes,
Right. Local
which
card shops and gaming communities. Like all of nerddom doesn't need to be desks and computers and machines. Like some
yeah,
people don't even
and I
want to
get
use a
it.
computer.
I definitely get it. Like I would like Keyforge to have an online platform too so that I could play whenever I wanted.
Yep.
But also like I recognize and understand that this early into the game it could split the community and hurt paper Keyforge.
Right, and I understand
Like
exactly. I agree. I think that I get a lot of value out of Keyforge purely because of the people I get to play with on that weekly basis. Like anybody can go and set up an online tournament and you can play against random stranger from the other side of the planet, and that's fine. If you're being super competitive and you want to show you're the best, then by all means do that. There's no negative connotation from what I'm saying against that, but my value in Keyforge, a big part of it, other than like the game itself, is being able to see you and my close friends and Floyd and all of them, like seeing them face to face. Floyd I do see
yeah,
fairly often, but a lot of the other players of the community I only see that one week at the card shop, and that's nice. Like I definitely value that over an online tournament. I'd rather play in our 10-person locals over a 100-person online tournament every single week, like no question asked.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice social thing
Hmm.
to just get your mind off your problems and flip some cardboard.
Yeah, yeah. No trap cards though. No flipping cardboard.
But
Imagine that. Imagine if
so
Keyforge was like, set this card face down. No, 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 no.
no, none of that.
Mm-mm.
So how was your holidays?
Holiday was good. Pretty much exactly what I expect, which I went to my parents, ate some dinner, hung out for a little while. Like our family is very uh interesting when it comes to holidays. So I realistically was only at my parents for about 2 or 3 hours. But that's not like a bad thing. It's just our holidays are just quick and simple, and we just do what we got to do, I guess. Like I don't see Thanksgiving as like going and spending the whole day with like all my family members. Like I didn't see my extended family. My sister had to work all day. It was me, my girlfriend, my mom, and my dad at the table, and so there's only so much we can talk about. I guess is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean my Thanksgiving was pretty small this year. It was just me, my girlfriend, and my brother, and we made way too much food.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
overcooked. But that's okay because leftovers are great.
right. Especially Thanksgiving leftovers. Like if you're gonna have any kind of leftovers, it's like pizza or Thanksgiving leftovers. Like so that's good though.
So today is the first day of leaderboards.
Yep.
Are you going hard this month?
Yeah, I know next month we have two primes or two. Yeah, I think there's two primes or
Yeah, in
something of
January
that
there are
nature.
two
So I don't
primes.
expect to do well at next month's leaderboard. So this is really the month. This is my window of opportunity, as well as it is for anybody who plans on going to the prime. So I
The
I am
the
taking it
big thing
super
about
serious, but I
sorry, I
also
didn't mean to
expect the
interrupt.
rest of the community to take this month very seriously, and it's probably going to be pretty competitive because I know everybody's trying to score a deck. But go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. My
You're good.
mistake.
No worries.
Um, yeah, but also this month the promo is Axiom of Grisk, and I'm much more interested in having a deck with Saurian in it than Shadows
Right.
because I might be on the unpopular opinion that in set three Shadows is one of the weaker houses.
Sure. I mean, I feel like I don't have enough experience with set three shadows to give that opinion or interpretation. I will say there are cards in shadows that are exclusive to set three that I really like. But as a whole, like I haven't. I have one deck that's Worlds Collide that has shadows in it that I'm even interested in playing, and it's not because of the shadows. So like, unfortunately,
Yeah,
like nothing shadows has stuck out to me, and that might exactly be why like it falls right into what you're saying. If the decks aren't standing out to me because they're actually not that great. Um,
it's not it's not that Shadows is bad. It's just not the powerhouse it was in set one.
yeah, yeah. If you're looking at Worlds Collide Shadows decks with the expectation of them doing what Coda Shadows decks did, you're gonna be disappointed almost every time. But um, you take the good with the bad. At least your deck, at least your house didn't get cycled out like Mars and Sanctum did. So it got nerfed, but it's not gone. Um, I know there's a lot of discussion about Brobnar being the next to leave. You think Brobnar is going to go next and maybe Shadows after that, and you feel like they're going to cycle Shadows out for a season or two, or a season or two?
I think uh I personally have a hunch, and there's almost no backing to this. This is just me feeling this way. I
Nice.
think they're gonna cycle out Brobnar and Untamed, and
Yeah.
they're gonna bring back Sanctum and possibly I think they're gonna do a new house as well.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, now that there's 9 houses in the game, they can mix and match. Already, they can mix and match and make like dozens of sets combinations, you know what I mean? So like
Oh yeah,
the
it's
fact that the
crazy.
fact that there's already like dozens of options for how they can set up their 7 houses per set, adding one or two more sets, they could literally just use those 10 or 12 sets for the next 10 years. And like they probably won't, but like the fact that they could is really exciting. Like I think that like that makes my brain start going like, oh my God, like imagine like the possibilities never end. Um,
Well,
but
um, just looking at the art that they spoiled on the Crucible cast,
yep,
we have a Sanctum art for the primes,
for sleeves, right? Sleeve rewards.
for sleeves for the primes, or for the world champ for the not it's either primes or the store champs. I don't remember, but it is Sanctum art.
Yep.
So I would imagine Sanctum is definitely in the next set.
Right, right. It wouldn't make sense for it not to be. It'd be
Or
really strange, but
me and Floyd were talking.
Hmm.
Keyforge is in this unique position because of the way their card game works, where they could have like promo sets,
Oh
if
yeah,
that makes sense. So like maybe Christmas comes around and there's like a Christmas exclusive like mini set, but it
right.
has Sanctum in it. Like maybe it only has 5 houses
Oh
and
yeah,
Sanctum.
maybe.
You know
Or
what I
or or
mean?
or
Like
maybe it's like every single box will have Sanctum in it or something like that, just as like a
yeah, something silly, or maybe it's just like not even a full set. Like every deck is just the same 3 houses but different cards.
right. So you know
They,
you're
they
getting
like they could
Sanctum,
do
Mars, and
these.
this.
Yeah, they could. They're in this place where they could do weird, unique things like that, and it doesn't
Hmm.
feel unfair
Because it's still a
because it's not a
12 card
constructed game. Yeah,
RNG. Yeah, that's really cool. I
yeah,
think that would be really, really a solid decision by them if they decided to do
but
something like that.
that's really stretching. That's like really getting into like, are they
Yeah,
more likely to do this crazy thing that they have the ability to do,
that's
or is
like
it just that Sanctum's in the next set?
that's like nitty gritty, like borderline conspiracy theorist level stuff. But I
Oh,
appreciate it. Like that's awesome.
oh,
I love
so
where your mind
here's my
goes with it.
reasoning for why I think Untamed's leaving is
Do it.
also borderline conspiracy stuff.
Nice.
So then they showed an art of Logos
Yep.
for one of either, I can't remember which one's the prime and which one's the store championships.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they
I don't
showed
either.
some card art, and one of the card arts was like a frog, but it was very obviously Dis.
Okay.
And to this point, Dis has been like demons and imps and stuff.
Right. So you saw
So it
logos and
makes me
dis.
think. So it makes me think that Dis might have corrupted Untamed. So maybe Untamed's leaving. Like that's my thought. And
Gotcha.
like Dis is just getting the like more natural creatures, but they're all like, I don't know. If I'm looking at it from like a story point of view, I don't know the Keyforge story super well, but I think it would be cool if like, this set Sanctum's gone, so Dis is getting really strong because they're always fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then Dis takes over Untamed and Sanctum has to come back because like,
They have to clean up the mess and undo everything that's been like corrupting
yeah,
the rest of the
yeah.
game. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I like that lore mentality too. Like I'm not big into lore in games in general. Like I played World of Warcraft for 5 years and I know a small percentage of the lore. And I know a lot of people probably rag on me for that. If anybody hears this, that is like a big WoW fan. But like the lore, when it comes to lore, I like the linear like Gears of War storylines and Halo and stuff like that. Like I paid more attention to that than World of Warcraft or like any of those other big RPG lore games. But when it comes to card games, like I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. Like I don't dive into the lore and know everything, but like I love the lore of Infernity from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I hope that Fantasy Flight kind of builds on the lore and maybe shares that with us down the road. I know that um, I feel like they were talking about they were making something. They were making some kind of like entertainment content. I don't know if it was like a show or a movie or something, but like it'd be cool to see
They
a book because I know Halo and stuff has a lot of books that talk about how everything started and became came to be. So I'd be really
if you
interested in that.
remember, they have the RPG system that's coming out. The
Yes, that's what it was.
Keyforge, the Keyforge RPG system. So I imagine we're going to get a lot of lore in that about the Crucible. And I mean, they do have a lot of like lore up front, like Call of the Archons. Just like the name of the set is like, you Archons are these beings that are trying to open the vaults, and you discover your deck is the Archon, and you're helping them open the vaults. You're a vault warrior.
Right, right. I
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
you as the player are the vault warrior helping the Archons utilize these different people stuck in the crucible.
Hmm.
And
Which sounds
then
awesome. Like I think
yeah, I mean
that's gonna
it's
be super
it's
cool.
it's vague enough that it lets you kind of put your own story into it, but it's like
It makes you want to
concrete
find out if
enough.
what you're thinking is like really what's going on. Like that alone is
Y-
gonna be like, man, I have to know the truth just to know if I was right.
Yeah. I'm really excited both for the game and a little bit for the lore. Like honestly, like if there's no lore, I'd still love this game. Don't get
100%.
me wrong.
Absolutely.
But the how at Worlds they said the winning team is going to open the first vault. Like that's just exciting to me. Like what
Hmm.
does that mean? We
Yeah.
don't know.
There's no
Like
context whatsoever. Damn it, Alex. Come on.
it's
Funny
I just
joke.
waited for them to open the vault and it's just that rhubarb crumble recipe
Or it's just like,
from
oh,
way back
oh my God.
when. They did it. Those Sly Devils.
What if they made like a custom card for a house that was just like the rhubarb, like or like what
But
if they made the rhubarb into like the equivalent of like the Brobnar brews, but for like another house,
that'd be great.
random
I'm
chance
all for it. I'm all
to
for it.
win.
I like games where like the community ends up affecting the game. I always
Yes.
think that that's
Oh
really,
yeah, when pop culture like weasels its way in and the developers embrace it, that's 100% the best thing that any company can do for a community is just embrace whatever the community throws at it, I think.
yeah.
Um,
No,
so
I agree.
so
But I
go ahead.
just hearing set four's name, I got really hyped. I know it's like set three's barely been out, but like I get so hyped for this game, man.
Yeah, absolutely. The adrenaline is nonstop. It feels like even when there's like not much going on, there's always like that one topic of discussion in the back of your mind where you just need to talk about it to somebody. Um, which is great. Did you see the minifigures that some guy made on Hero Forge for like each house?
Yeah, I did see that in the group. Those were
Dude,
pretty cool.
that's super off topic, but like I just remembered those and I love miniatures. Like I play D&D and stuff and like all of those look so clean. I big props to that guy. Like
Yeah,
insane, dude.
those
That
were
was super
dope.
cool.
They also I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or in real life,
Hmm.
but they did spoil on one of the Crucible casts, I think last month, that we're actually getting minifigures in
Yes.
local prize kits that
Yeah.
are going to be like usable as key tokens.
Hmm. They're gonna,
So
yeah.
like what they're standing on is the key, and then you could flip the key but still leave them on top.
Hmm. Which is gonna be
And the
really
first,
neat. There's gonna be like
yeah,
three-dimensional keys and stuff like that. It's gonna end up taking a little bit of like space and setup, and it might get a little messy. But like overall, I think that's what players want is just something that's unique enough to them to have that value in it, especially if it's prize support. Anybody can go buy something, but getting a reward like that, like I would be super deep into playtesting if I knew that I needed to go to a tournament to win miniature figurine like 3D modeled keys. Like that just sounds insane.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm definitely stoked on that. I'm stoked on just seeing where this game goes.
Yep.
And now that they're taking it more seriously, today is actually I was watching before we started recording the PAX tournament at
Yes.
PAX Unplugged, and it is I believe the first Archon tournament since Worlds Collide came out. And I think top four is two Call of the Archon, one Worlds Collide, and the third deck is either Age of Ascension or Call of the Archon. I couldn't remember,
Gotcha. So there's a
but
possibility that all three. Very likely that it's just two, but it's cool to see our worlds collide in top four, just like I did at Prime. Like that's reinforcing all the anybody who's not very sold on worlds collide as a set. It's definitely making its imprint on the meta and on the game as a whole. Do you wanna lead into that some more? I know we were gonna try and discuss some of the big changes across the game as a whole from Worlds Collide's release now that we've had some time to experience it and get used to some of the mechanics and interactions of cards and warding mainly. That's
yeah, I mean, I know we wanted to talk about kind of now that we've really dipped our toes into set three, how it changes the perception of set one.
yep.
And I'm of the train of thought. I don't think set one is inferior to set three. In fact, I still think that the most powerful set one decks are still just the most powerful decks, period. But I do think that certain set one decks, the most popular ones, just passive Amber Rush,
Hmm.
do have to play differently
We're looking at your Honey
against
Witch.
set three decks
Oh yeah, I agree.
because yeah, set three just seems to really slow down the game and make your opponent play at your pace.
It feels like set three as a whole, like every house from set three has a little bit of like dis mechanics sprinkled into it. There's a lot of your keys cost more, or you can't do this, or limited times per turn, and stuff like that. So I feel like that like what was dis for the previous sets as we knew it, like our mindset of dis kind of ended up in a little bit of everywhere in set three, and I think that's a good thing because it was really hard for a lot of decks to just stop that rush and slow down the Hunting Witch, Witch of the Eye, Ancient Bear, Chota. Like it was too much for so many things. And with warding, specifically with warding, in my opinion, as well as just the handful, the plethora of interesting and reusable cards. I feel like set three has a lot more cards that obviously like Star Alliance, they have play fight reap effects where if you don't get it off the board, they're literally going to get that effect every single time they call that house, or opposed to just something with just a play effect. It might be a strong play effect, but the play fight reap being able to, with Officer Garcia, I believe, like making your opponent's keys cost two more over and over and over again. Like set one doesn't have as big of a variety with multi-use effects. So like, and that's where I said, and I commented on a post from somebody, and my comparison was like set one is strong, but it's also very linear. And if I have a day where I just don't want to think, sure, I'll play a set one deck. But I've really fallen in love with set three because I feel my brain using so much more of its energy, just trying to think through every single turn, every single play. And when I win, it's way more fulfilling than set one. Like that's just my experience. I know I do have like a decent or a pretty strong set three deck, so maybe it's just the deck, but I that's just what I've experienced so far with it. What about you? How have you seen set three affect the rest of the Keyforge community?
Set three is definitely against a really good Saurian lineup. It's very difficult to just play Kodo Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's because, and it's not even that they keep you off a key, like you were saying with all the key cost manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's that they will just make you pay like 12
13,
for a
yeah,
key. Yeah.
exactly.
And that's almost like that's worse.
Right. It's one thing like if you have to pay 13 for a key or 12 for a key, like now you're at 10 or 11 amber. Do you really want to play more creatures to make your Honey Witch give you that? Because you don't want to pay 13 for a key. Maybe you can answer whatever they have that's making your keys cost more next turn, but if you don't, all that amber's gone. And like you have to, with a set one deck against, like you said, a big Saurian board, not only do you have to prioritize which of these big 4 and 5 power creatures do I need to kill first, but also like do I want to play these extra cards because I know I'm going to forge a key next turn, but at the cost, you're suddenly way further behind than you would have been against other decks. Like your keys costing 12, now you suddenly need 36 amber for 3 keys opposed to 18, and that's like you and I, anybody who plays Keyforge would know, like that's a significant, like double the amber, you're gonna have to go through your deck twice just to get to where you would normally, and their
Yeah,
creatures are all
yeah.
bigger than yours. Like what do you do?
It becomes a really great equalizer because it's like, okay, like your deck goes fast, but you have to play at my speed. Like, sure, set three decks might not make amber very quickly, but they make really efficient use of their amber,
And they make
and they're
big
gonna
plays
make
with it.
you make really inefficient use of your amber.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. That's a good way to put it. Um, and that's how I felt with my set three deck, my big Velocibat Saurian deck that I top forward with. That deck literally doesn't care about how much amber I have. It just makes sure that your keys are as hard for you to get as possible, and if I do that correctly, I just win by default. It doesn't matter what I'm doing or how I'm rushing or what my whole goal is manipulate my board and field to stop your keys, and eventually I have a creature with 14 amber on it and I just win. And like
it feels.
set one just can't do that. Like in my opinion, like period. I've never seen like unless you have that crazy too much to protect, like there's very little multitudes of cards that aren't just a one and done solution to things like that.
Yeah, and it feels a lot like in Magic set three, like the good Saurian uh with supporters decks feel a lot like control decks play in Magic, where like, yeah, I don't have a great win condition, but I'm really good at making sure your win condition doesn't go.
Uh-huh.
And then incrementally I will gain the advantage until I've won a death of 1,000 cuts.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like that Saurian is the perfect example of a deck that like will literally do nothing until they're at 1 HP and then they'll just straight up board wipe you and play a something that you literally can't answer. And then suddenly you're at 2 cards in hand and they have a board +5 and you just literally you got that close and they were at 1 health and you literally just can't close it out and then they snowball back and beat you. Like
yeah.
that's a huge Saurian thing. And in this game there's no life points obviously, so like Saurian's even stronger compared to other card games where we're kind of trying to make that comparison, in my opinion. There's no oh, I'm about to lose. It's all about the amber. It's not the life total. So as long as your Saurians stick and they set up, they're so oppressive. Like the whole house is so oppressive.
Yeah, if listeners haven't gathered on, me and Ryan think Saurian is undisputably the best house in set three.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
It's just there's
logos has the most
no bad
consistency,
cards in Saurian.
right? And like logos has like I think Logos has the highest potential to be like if you had the perfect Logos deck, it might be better than the perfect Saurian list out of like just the 12 cards by themselves. But Saurian are literally so close to Logos in that regard that that fact plus their synergy with the other houses is already inherently better than Logos, that they surpass Logos as a general house value, at
I
least in
think
my
if
book.
I think if you have Saurus or Saurian logo star lines, you're good.
Yeah,
You've got good
your
36
deck's
cards. Like
always gonna do good things.
you might have one of situational card and logos, but all of those houses just their commons are all phenomenal. So
Right.
even if you don't hit rare, like I'd rather almost have all commons than any rares because some of their rares are really situational in those houses.
Yep. Yep. Oh, absolutely. I mean, even like Titan Guardian doesn't feel like it's an amazing card, but like it's
Oh
a
no, Titan
common. Look at
Guardian's
it from
dope.
Titan Guardian's so dope. Like I have a deck with three Titan Guardians, and aside from the one game where all three of them were within the last five cards of my deck, like every other game I played that, everyone just like looks at that card and they're like, "Man, I really have to kill that right now, don't I?" And it's just like, yeah, you don't have to kill it, but it's still a big guy that's
I think that is also those three houses' strength. And they're like the houses of man, I have to deal with this guy right now.
yeah. And if I don't, it's gonna snowball. And literally, I feel like 85 to 90% of all Saurian creatures make my opponent feel that way, and it's great.
Yeah,
It's so great. Like
absolutely.
when in set one and two, where like Dis was the house where you'd play creatures, and your opponent was just like, ugh. Now like now it's Saurian. 100% it's Saurian. They're just you just hear that like sink of their stomach as you ward your Imperial
I,
Scudammed Odak the Patriot, like just silly stuff like that.
I would even argue that like while Saurian does make you answer them, like when your opponent answers your Saurian board, they know that they've done a good play. So it feels like the right play. I think Logos has more of those feel bad committing a turn to dealing with your babbling bibliophile. Like that feels bad,
Yeah.
but you can't just leave reap draw two on the board.
You're like, man, I
Like
really wanted to use this pawn sacrifice on the hunting witches that I know are in his deck, but I guess I have to kill the bibliophile because if I don't, he's just gonna get the hunting witches faster, and like stuff like
yeah.
that. Like that can definitely not only take a toll on your brain, just trying to like manage all of that in your head, but it also takes a little bit of a toll on your morale when like two turns later they go double hunting witch, and you're like, man. And then you look back and you're like, should I have actually kept that? Like, what would be different if I waited to answer this now? And I feel like those trade-offs are, I mean, obviously a big factor in like what wins and loses you games, but in set three it feels like being able to make those decisions correctly definitely sway the outcomes of the games like a lot more than previous sets, from my perspective. Like saving a red alert for the right turn can literally change the momentum of the game entirely to your favor, but like opening it turn one and seeing people just use it because or going second just to use it because they're not going to get to use it till their deck's almost empty seems like, depending on the creature count of your opponent's deck, that could be kind of silly to me, but I've seen people do it, so
Yeah.
tough to say.
It is. I like set three.
Definitely.
I might be I don't know if I'm in a majority or minority because I haven't really been having my ear to the ground in this regard, but I do think that it's smart set design. I think I think when it's hard to look at a deck and really evaluate it as quickly as we have with set 1 and 2, I think that that's good. I think that's good for the game. It's healthy because it means that more things are becoming viable
Well, that leads
and they
back to what
aren't
I was saying too about like set one being linear. Like the fact that the fact that set three decks can literally path out into so many more different like variations and end boards and stuff like that versus set one adds to that variation of like score, SAS score, and like rating, but also like it gives players an opportunity to kind of prove themselves with their own deck of choice a little more. Like just because your deck's an 80 doesn't mean you're going to be able to play it as good as someone with a 75. At least, I mean, that was kind of always the case, but I feel like that's even more so because of the brain power that goes into like set three decks in most cases. But sorry, I
Yeah,
kind of cut you off there. I just wanted
no,
to get
no,
my
it's
point out.
fine. I was saying just it's good that these other play styles have come up that are viable to play competitively, but they don't completely discredit the old ones. So it's like a power creep in a weird way that doesn't invalidate the old meta. It just
Hmm.
makes you have to like adapt a little bit or dodge the matchup. And
Yeah.
I think that that's really good game design because nobody's sitting here saying like, "Oh, Coda Rush is dead. Rest in peace."
Yeah, why did I spend all this money on my set one deck when set three was just gonna make it unplayable? Like nobody's even come close. Like I hear people arguing more that set one is still better than set three, and like FFG is doing things wrong or whatever. Like not exactly like that. I'm paraphrasing, but like people have more often given me the impression that they're not as satisfied with set three because it doesn't do the things set one does, and
I mean,
I have to disagree with that.
I do agree that again, I think the best set one decks are still the best decks in the game.
Oh yeah,
But when you're talking about like,
people who aren't
man,
attending every VT,
yeah,
stuff
people.
like
Well, I
that.
just mean like even at our locals, we have some people who like will die on that mountain that set one is the best set, and it's just like I just don't think they're putting enough time or effort into understanding set three.
Yeah, and like that's to each their own. They can do that. Just kind of hope it doesn't end up biting them in the butt.
I mean, I feel like it will. Like if
Not
you're
myself.
if they're gonna go play competitively, just not having that knowledge of set three is really gonna hurt them.
And anyone who plays card games probably knows like the only way to really truly learn the ins and outs of a deck that you're planning to like if you expect to face against a deck in a constructed format, you can play against it all you want, but playing with it is what really puts you to the next level of understanding like how the deck works and what your opponent might be doing when they're playing that deck against you. So like it's a little less direct, I guess, because this isn't a constructed format, but the same rules still apply. Like you still have to be aware of what your opponent's options are, and like at the prime, perfect example. There were 5 rounds before the top cut. I think 2 or 3 of those rounds, my opponent straight up admitted to me, I haven't played against a set three deck yet. I have no idea what any of your cards do, and like sorry, but I'm gonna take that to my advantage. Like you attended a big quote unquote like you wanted to attend a big competitive tournament. That's on you for not taking the time to learn the new cards. So
It's gonna be a rough day for you, my friend. We're gonna learn some lessons.
yeah, cauldron boil.
Lesson lesson one: Saurians are big.
Yep. I'm gonna capture 5 and then ward it. Thanks.
Shout
Um
outs to Cody again from the Prodigy Prime for dealing with playing against Ryan 2 rounds in a row and just
oh
looking at all of his amber on Ryan's creatures for 2 rounds in a row. Just
yeah.
I was spectating and it was rough for
Somebody
me.
handed me a D20 because we like almost ran out of his amber shards and he's like, "Do you need this?" And I was like, maybe in a minute. But like the game ended, I think, a few turns later. But like just the fact that I need a 20-sided dice to keep track of my amber on one creature was, yeah,
Yeah, one of the games I was watching, you had, I think I counted, you had like 19 of his amber on your creatures.
on one of my creatures with an
And
Imperial
I'm just
Scuttle.
like, that's the whole game.
Hmm.
He could have won the whole game with that
That's all
amber.
3 keys if I didn't touch it. Exactly. But overall, um, that's kind of our take on Worlds Collide. I think there's a lot of underrated single cards. I think there's a few cards that are being overlooked. I have a few new favorite cards. I think we should talk about that next week or the next episode we do. Even if they're not good, like maybe some of like the cards we find interesting and hope we can find some better decks with those cards in it, even if we're not taking them. For example, like I like Chain Gang and Subtle Chain. Like I feel like that synergy is really cool. And even though like we both agreed Shadows isn't anywhere near where it used to be, like the idea of pulling a cool Chain Gang or double Chain Gang deck, like I'd be thrilled. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for. Are there any cards you're looking out for specifically? You're like, man, I hope I pull a cool deck or a good rated deck with this in it. Specifically like a set three card.
Um, I don't know. I do I was actually looking through my decks and I found that I have a triple Infernus Hysteria double Exhume deck,
Oof, that
but the
sounds.
rest of the deck is just not great. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I want to do this thing, but not with these other cards.
Yeah, I'd like to do this more than once per game, or at least be able to play long enough to do this once per game. That's the
But
biggest fear. Your
there
big
are definitely
combo.
some really cool things. I miss Time Traveler.
Yeah.
So if anyone who's listening has a Legacy Time Traveler deck with Saurian or Star Alliance or both, you let me know
Oh, that sounds like a sale ready to happen. So you guys hit
because
up Tyler if you pull anything cool.
I would love one of those.
Yeah.
Time Traveler is hands down my favorite card in the game.
Nice. Very cool. I'm definitely looking for chain gang stuff. I still don't have a cool deck with punctuated equilibrium. I know that's not a set 3 card, but I'm keeping an eye out for anything interesting with that in it. And the new Star Alliance card, Officer Morpheus, that lets your play effects trigger twice. If anyone's got a deck with like 2 of those in it and a handful of decent play effects that they want to get rid of, I'm not super concerned with the rating. I just kind of want to mess around with it. I like that mechanic and want to see if there's any cool combos that I haven't already discovered or seen happen on forums and the Facebook group and stuff. But any other topics or anything else you want to discuss? I know we're about 40 minutes in, so it's not the
Oh
longest
no,
episode we've
not
had,
really.
but this is around our time point, I think.
I was seeing if maybe the finals finished up because it does look like the finals is Worlds Collide versus Coda
Ooh,
for
nice.
PAX, but it's not done yet. It doesn't look like it's going to be done soon. But next time we'll talk about it, and
Very nice.
maybe Worlds Collide wins one.
Yeah,
If it
that
is
would
a
be
Worlds
awesome.
Collides deck, it's a Worlds Collide deck with no Saurian and no Star Alliance.
Wow, that'll be even more.
Because I saw
Regardless of
that
if this
house
guy
is
wins or not, I want that deck list. You should
yeah. Because I saw the Archon cards on stream, and they're both old houses. But one guy was playing like Jargoggle,
mhm,
and I saw like Igor, and I don't think it's an Age of Ascension deck.
gotcha.
So I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I can't really. The stream went down for a minute, so and I don't want to like get too much
False
noise on the
information or
podcast.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha. Well,
but we'll talk about it.
yeah.
As for you guys, let us know. How do you think Worlds Collide is going to do at Archon events? Do you think they're going to compete with Call of the Archons?
Or do you
Do you
think
think Age of Ascension is going to be anywhere?
Do you feel like Call of the Archons is just going to continue to be the dominating force of this game that it has been since pretty much the
I'm
inception?
I'm excited to see like the breakdown at this Vault Tour
Yeah,
of
like
what
top
people
top cut
brought.
of uh what sets everything was from. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, I
I
think
think
that's it
we're
for this week.
yeah, definitely seems like a pretty solid episode, a pretty solid stopping point. Don't forget to hunt us down. We are on YouTube. We do have a Facebook page. We have a Patreon that still doesn't really exist. We haven't found any reason. I don't want to ask for money until I feel like I'm confident in something that's worth you giving us money. So, um, I mean, I would obviously love the support and everything. We do have some stickers. I think last episode Tyler said, shoot us an email or shoot us a message if you guys want some stickers. I'm sure we can send some out and work that out. But find us on any form of social media that you can. It's mostly Facebook. There's a Discord channel that we set up. Isn't too active right now, but that's understandably so. 100 subscribers. We got like 20 more to go. I think we hit 80 between the last episode and the recording of this one. At 100 guys, that's all we need. 20 more subs, and we're gonna do a deck giveaway. Um, it's all sealed. Triple Cutthroat research. And next episode, I'll give you guys the name of it because we're getting close enough to where I can select which one I want to give away specifically. And you guys can look at the deck list before entering into the contest, which you get auto entered if you subscribe anyway, at least at this point in time on YouTube. But that was a ramble. Tyler, I'll see you in an hour or two at the card shop.
Yeah,
And
and I think this episode will be up on Spotify pretty much immediately, and other podcast sites, and then I'll try to have it up on YouTube tomorrow at the latest. We'll see.
sounds good.
I mean, if you're listening to it on YouTube, it'll be today for you. The magic of editing.
Excelente. All right, guys.
But
We'll see you later. Have a good one.
have a good one, guys.